Welcome to the Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Magnus Olsen, and I'm joined by co-host, Full Spectrum founder, Ben Maher. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How you doing?
Very well. All right, today in the studio, we're joined by Mario Nagy, who's a powerhouse in Brisbane real estate game. He's a principal of Absolute Estate Agents and local specialist buyers agent. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, mate.
Mate, can you take us back to that moment that triggered your decision to do real estate?
It was a case of inspiration or desperation. Where do we start and what do we do? What's the plan moving forward? I guess once you make a decision, it's a bit like jumping in the car and not having a destination point. You end up just driving around. So I needed to set that waypoint and obviously set sail, so to speak. And it's been 23 years, so long time.
What did you do before you started selling property?
I was cabin crew. I was Virgin Blue cabin crew. So flight attendant, health and safety of passengers on board the aircraft. It was 737-700 and 737-800. So
wow, that's a bit of a shift. I don't think there's too many people, as we talked earlier. I'm a licensed agent myself with a background in construction, but jumping from the airlines into the property market.
Something different for sure. But the personalities are the same because everyone's different and every situation is completely different as well. So that's what makes it exciting.
Well said.
So for all our for all our listeners today, could you share with some of us your early struggles, or even just something that the whole concept of this podcast is the founder, right? Think different, be different, act different. Something you might give to a young aspiring career person or want to be founder out there.
I think you need to have a point of difference, whatever that may be. Everyone's quite individual and unique in their own way, and they've got outside influence, which obviously would influence them and guide them in sort of the decision moving forward, whether it be to start your own business or go to uni and obviously get a job. And there's no guarantees when you do that. But people always sort of should really look long term. It's a bit like the property market. You're not doing it for now, you're doing it for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, sort of down the track. I think that's always important to have some guidance, have a vision, write it down and just execute, and how do we get there, work it backwards.
Were you mentored at all when growing up?
My brother was a big influence. So he was in film and TV. So he's always been a fairly big influence for me. Yeah. And he always sort of had that drive and determination, same as my folks. So that was a big thing. But when I was in high school, we're living up in Caloundra actually, and Mum and Dad had a really dear friend up there who had he had 2 franchises, and Jed, massive tall guy, like 6'7", and came in and he has a big shiny blue Mercedes, and he was. I said, "Where was this guy?" He just pops in, has coffee, he's happy. Like, what is your job, mate? Like, what do you do? And he explained it. I went, "That sounds really good, actually. I might look into that." And funny enough, I was working in hospitality, and then obviously got into real estate, and it obviously became cabin crew as well, and did both, juggled both for a number of years, and then I finally left flying and did it full time. So that was back in 2008.
Good spot, Caloundra. I'm doing a development up there right now up at Kings Beach, so absolutely cracker spot.
4551's the postcode of Kings Beach, just in case you were wondering.
I feel like I'm the odd one out here, but that's all right. So, talk to me about Mario. We all talk about, as people who have founded companies, we all talk about core values. What are your core values, and is it something that you live by every day?
Well, it is, and it's important. I guess your vibe creates your tribe. So what you bring in is what you get back. People don't sometimes reciprocate that, unfortunately, but you do need to have a fairly strong understanding of what those values are, and obviously everyone's different. For me, it's the client comes first, and I guess one thing I've found is when you don't treat people the way that you would like to be treated, then that will come back and bite you in the butt, so to speak. So the client focus has always been number one for us. Without the client, we don't exist. So it's a lot easier to retain that relationship with your current client than to find someone new. So that's something I would certainly push hard for, is that customer service focus, which again sort of circles back to the airline, and I had the pleasure of meeting Sir Richard Branson on a number of occasions, and when he's in the room you tend to shut up, and I do tend to talk a lot, but when he's in the room you do, he's just an amazing person to listen to, and if you've had a chance to read his books or his audio books, he always instills that as well. So it's about what you create and what your sort of path is moving forward.
He's certainly a great inspiration. I have been fortunate to read a couple of his books, and also I like what you said about just treating people the way you like to be treated. I think that's just such a fundamental thing, and something I think we can all do a lot more of.
So in terms of real estate, I want to think how to ask this question. It's known as a bit of a high-stress environment, right? I mean, maybe not management tips, but how would you advise someone can thrive in this environment? Or even if there's a founder out there that's in their own environment, it's not real estate, how would you advise they handle stress?
I guess being organised, organisation skills are crucial. Your time management. I've always been of the belief that a busy person always has time because they are in fact structured. Simple tasks like doing your to-do list the day prior. So when you wake up and you have your 2 cups of coffee or 3 sometimes, you look at your to-do list and you go, okay, cool. Well, these are must-dos today. These tasks need to be executed by say lunchtime, and I'm not going to bed until these other tasks are done. Even if you've got school pickup or you've got to pop into the gym, it's all about balance. But I guess stress management is just having that balance. A lot of people talk about work-life balance. I think that's challenging to get. There's always spikes and valleys that exist because obviously challenges of life do come in. But I think just having that nice, somewhat of a balance. If you want to go out and have a good time, you can, but also don't forget your health because health is wealth. So that's always a big part of it.
It's interesting you say that because it's one of the things I struggle with, and I think in life it is all about balance. And one of the things that I talk about is balancing contentment and complacency. So, and the other thing I've heard is there's no such thing as work-life balance, it's work-life fusion. So like you pointed out, you get up early, you smash X out, then you might drop the kids at school, and then you've got something else, you have a meeting, but you're fusing the two together seems to be in today's busy world in compared to trying to find that balance. What do you see some of the biggest challenges with the property industry over the next 5 years, particularly leading up to the Olympics?
I think there's a lot of legislative changes which are happening in the industry and are sort of getting rid of a lot of cowboys that currently exist. So the changes that have been implemented on the 1st of August, they're going to shake a few things up, I think. Stock levels are on their all-time low, so there's seasoned agents that have been around for 10, 15, 20 years that have got one property for sale. That's a bit of a concern. So, anyone that's sort of getting into it, my understanding would be if you can succeed now, you're going to kick butt later on. So it's just have a war chest of funds for at least 3-4 months because you may not be getting paid anytime soon. And when you do, don't start ordering caviar, just stick to whatever you're doing. Don't spend more than what you earn is always a big one.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I was chatting to a bloke the other day who's quite high up in the construction industry, and listening to his understanding leading up to the Olympics, he said that we need 50,000 jobs to be able to fulfil the commitment in relation to the Olympics as well as government's commitment to health. And it's like, okay, there's 50,000 people. Where are they going to come from? And if they do come from overseas or they come from down south, where are they going to stay? So it's really interesting that right now we do have a pretty significant housing crisis.
Major housing crisis. So there's a 0.2 vacancy rate at the moment, which it's good for owners but not good for tenants because there's generally, if you've seen a couple of posts online, like that unit in Bondi, that was obviously, I think it was priced correctly. That's why everyone lined up for it as well. But there is a high demand and very low supply of rentals. And just referring back to when I was a flighter, you fly over Australia and always have a bit of a look outside the window. And I'm thinking, there's so much land here to do, but obviously, we need the infrastructure. We need the schools, the hospitals, the roads, the water, the power, the grid, all that sort of stuff. So it's a case of the chicken or the egg, but prices are certainly skyrocketing. Brisbane's now the second most expensive capital city in Australia. We've obviously bumped Melbourne out, and hence all the Melburnians are moving up north. And we've got better weather, nicer people, and minimal potholes. So it's a good spot to be in, Brisbane.
You touched on earlier about health and wellness. That's a big part of me. I host a podcast, M26 Fit, that's got a complete focus on exactly that. How much emphasis do you personally place on your own health and wellness? And what about for your staff, just ensuring their sustainability in what we talked earlier, obviously high stress environment of real estate?
Definitely. Very good question. So I've actually lost 22 kilos in 12 months.
Congratulations.
So that's I looked in the mirror, I went, you look a bit porky, mate, and a lot of the shirts don't fit as well as they do. So I decided to make that dramatic shift and feeling good, and certainly I think it comes up in your energy levels as well. So for staff, look, you can only give so much advice to people. It's up to them to do that. I'm a big consumer of water, so I obviously go through your 2 litres a day, sometimes more. I can't carry those big water bottles anymore. They're too clunky in the car, but I've still got my little trusty old plastic faithful. But the kids love the water bottles, and obviously more so to sort of encourage the kids to do that, especially on a hot day that we obviously have in Queensland. So
I think that's awesome, and I also think that you can never underestimate the power of the example that you set. So I think there's no point running around the office if, like you said, if you're on the need to lose 20 kilos, you're telling all your staff to look after themselves. So
lead by example.
Great to see.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of your personal brand, in terms of like building a professional brand, your personal brand, just branding in general, what would be some advice you'd give for any young founder out there who's going, well, how do I do this? How do I build my brand? 1, 2, how do I build a personal brand?
Well, colours are amazing things. Colours are an amazing thing. So when you look at certain brands, food, for example, is red, yellow, and orange. So obviously that enhances your taste buds. You seldom see a food brand that is blue or green. That's generally used for other things. Same as in the banking sector. So for me with branding and colours, it's what stands out. Obviously, brands like Ray White are yellow, other agencies are whatever colour they are. So you need to have a point of difference in that regard. I always like the colour pink. At the end of the day, if you've got a young couple and it's a male and a female, hypothetically, then he may like it. The man's the head of the family, woman's the neck. She's going to turn the head. So it's just another way to entice people. And look, our branding has always been pink, black and white. It's just that nice bold contrast, and it looks really good on signage, and it stands out. I was never a massive fan of the colour pink, but it's grown on me, and mate, I always wear the pink jacket as a bit of a branding thing, so you stand out, sort of thing. So I guess decide on what your colour palette would be, and design your logo. And if you need help, there's heaps of apps online that could do that for you as well. But I just got creative with a couple of glasses of red, and start designing and go from there. That's the fun part, is creating your future.
Yep.
As opposed to walking right into it. People like to deal with people, not brands.
Yes.
So if I was wearing a different brand, well, what's the difference? I'm still the same person. And provided your customer service is there, then that's what I think works. And obviously you need to know your craft as well.
Well said.
Are you big on authenticity we touched on earlier? So all of your staff, you're encouraging them. There's the values of the brand that they're representing, but also do you just encourage them
They've got their own individual flair, which again is a Virgin Blue thing back in the day.
Yep.
Everyone's different, and I think without sort of going to the extreme of that, bring out you.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a wrong answer in that. It's whatever you're comfortable with. If you feel good, you act good, you do good.
Yeah.
If I'm going to wear a monkey suit and a tie, I'm not going to be as comfortable having this chat with you guys. But certainly jeans, nice shirt, and a nice jacket with pocket squares. I can leave here, go straight to a meeting, go straight to an appointment, or catch up with mate and have a bite to eat. So
it's one of my sons saying, "Look good, feel good."
100%.
Yeah,
that's it.
What about discipline? How do you define discipline, and how important is it, do you think, to be successful in not only business but just in life?
You just need structure. Structure is important. And again, it's back to time management. So when you're juggling career, health, children, sport, wife, dogs, mowing guy needs to get access to do all that sort of thing. You just need structure. Yeah. So hence, I'm big on to-do lists, massive on to-do lists. I need to know where I'm going and what I'm doing at what time, and that way there's no overlap. No one's confused. It's visual. You tick it. I color coordinate things that are of high importance. That again doesn't need to be difficult. If it's red, you stop. Orange, you pause, and green, you go. So that's pretty much what I sort of would look at, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. No, well said.
So talk us through. I'm just trying to think how to explain this one again. Talk us through in terms of like the average listener who's out there of they're building a team. They're starting to build a team.
Mm-hmm.
they want to have a team. What would you advise you invest their time in, or money, or whatever version of capital they have, whether it's time, money, whatever it is? What would you advise they invest into their team for? What would they do? And then why would they do it?
I would go through a recruitment agency, because if you're working on the business, not in the business, again, that's a different mindset once again. To go through someone who's pre-qualified, who has gone through that interview process, instead of you taking 3 weeks out of your business, which obviously generates that income to be hiring these people direct. You're sort of you're dropping the ball in terms of what you need to do. But look, staffing is always a difficult one, regardless of the industry that it is. So just take your time, hire once, hire right. Otherwise, if you rush it, it's a bit like docking a boat, you'll fudge it.
Been there, done that.
Real quick. So just take your time. Take 100%. Your time with hiring.
So just on that, because I've as I mentioned earlier, have run a few businesses, built a few businesses. So I've made every hiring mistake that you can think of, and I learnt after all of those mistakes just the importance of values and understanding that the staff that you are hiring have an alignment of those values, because some people just clearly don't. I think personalities, that's a different scenario, but just people's core values and try and understand those. I ended up doing psychometric testing. I'm a bit of a fan on. What attributes do you look for when you're hiring new staff, and are there any non-negotiables?
Eye contact and a good handshake. So we'll start with that. I don't need your resume that you've had done by ChatGTP. I'm not interested in that. Yeah. You can sit with someone for 5 minutes and work it out real quick, and then we'll just go from there. And then there's a second meeting. Yep. My biggest thing is never leave a meeting without another meeting. What is it with a handshake? Because I've met plenty of people and they got the little wet fish handshake. What is it with that? Maybe they're nervous, but just you can get a paper towel, give them a wipe, and we can start that again. That's fine. Look, obviously different personalities react in different ways, introverts, extroverts, all that sort of thing. But I think just having that, just common decency of having eye contact, sitting down with someone, how they treat their wait staff as well. If they're going to be a rude person to wait staff, well, that's a really good one. I remember the amount of clients I've taken out, and I'd take out even if it's a small little thing for coffee, but just noticing how they treat the staff. The wait staff everyone's working. There's no need to be a rude person. Absolutely. Well, I think it says a lot about a person, though. In the first 5 minutes as well, what's the next 5 months going to look like if they've already sort of displayed that sort of character? Yep. Then it sort of does tend to raise the question mark. Yep.
So what are your attributes in terms of non-negotiables and in terms of employees? So in terms of like someone who's either going, I want to hire people, I want to have a great team. What are those non-negotiables? And for someone out there who's listening to this who's maybe made a mistake, and they're trying to rectify and change their behaviour, what would be your non-negotiables? Just having a really, really good track record, and I always go through references, is something that anyone that's joining our team, I need to make sure they're squeaky clean. Because, again, based on the changes that are happening, there's a lot of cowboys out there which they're still out there and they're still working and they're doing the wrong thing, and sooner or later they'll get caught out. There's been a couple of bigger players in the headlines, and obviously not naming names, I'm sure we all know who they are, but haven't done things the right way, and they've got a really good profile in the media, but you know what? They probably have zero integrity, because that's the way it is. But again, they're pressured to create those results, but there's a way of doing things which you just got to take your time with certain things. So true. I think that honesty, that integrity and that authenticity, it will shine out. Like you said, social media and it's all shiny. Sooner or later, the wheels are going to fall off where the rubber meets the road. But let's have a chat about setbacks. I've been fortunate to interview a lot of sports stars, for example, and one thing that sets people apart is that when you've experienced a big setback, do you mind sharing a setback that you've experienced and how and what got you through it? Mate, a setback last Friday. We had 2 commercial deals go belly up, and I was with some friends, and I like to get my emails done early on a Friday, and then have a nice little afternoon, because Saturday is our biggest day. So have an early one, and maybe 4 p.m. the email ping 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 started going off, and 2 deals went belly up. So obviously damage control, and there was no way of reviving them, and ended up ordering a margarita and a couple after that, thinking, well, okay, this is it. But I guess it's just you persevere through it. It's another day. We didn't win the battle that day, but there's always another day. So
Got to dust yourself off and get back on there, mate, because what else are you going to do? Have a little cry in the corner, and that's going to achieve what exactly?
But
so just get up, keep going. No one cares. Just motivate yourself to do it. You just need that resilience in you. Otherwise, you won't make it. Someone will look at you funny, and you shrivel up. Like, it just doesn't work like that. You just have to keep going. There is no. It's just, it's not now. It's bad things happen to good people. It's just part of life.
Yeah.
So as long as you're aware of it and you can acknowledge it and move on.
But that property industry, it's like that a little bit. It's a champagne and razor blade sometimes, isn't it?
I call it caviar and noodles, mate. It's caviar, and then there's you got 2-minute noodles. It's good to have that. It's good to have a balance. Again, we're getting back to balance. But look, agents, mate, they get that big fat check, and they've worked hard for it, and we get paid at the very end, same as our sellers. And we've had properties for a year, and mate, I'm still doing open homes. It's a commercial property, and we've invested weeks of time and energy and inspections and tolls and ironing shirts and early starts and late mornings and documents and emails and talking to lawyers and town planners and finance planners, and it's still for sale. So then you go back to the sellers and try and recondition them and get the price down. But obviously our job when we act as a selling agent is to get the sellers the best price. But some people go, well, we need to chop it by 200 grand, which will make the agent's job easier. But is that really the best thing for the seller? So there's a fine line where you need to be realistic, but also do your job and do it properly. Because obviously our fees would be affected by that as well, but it's marginal in comparison to what ends up in the owner's pocket at the end of the transaction, and providing that value to them as well.
But what I do like about it with real estate, because I've got, as you know, I've got a background in real estate, I've got friends in real estate, and you only get paid for a result. Whereas a lot of people in society today, you get paid, I've turned up at work at 9 o'clock, I've left at 5 o'clock, I've done that for 5 days, you get a check. But at the end of the day, somebody in every business only gets paid for a result. And I think that's the way it should be in some other aspects, because it's more of a life lesson that you've got to get the result in order to get the champagne.
That's it. That's exactly right.
You mentioned with people and buyers, sellers, what do you see the most common mistake for buyers that are buying property and trying to get into the property market? What's the biggest mistake?
They don't know where to start. They don't know what they want. So I think it's like anything, and we get phone calls all the time looking for something in the area, but I might go to the other side of town. Well, let's break it down and simplify things, because you're giving me too many options. I don't really know where to start. You just keep it simple, stupid, the old KISS sort of method.
Yep.
If your kids are in a particular area, or if you work in a particular area, or you're not a massive fan of being stuck in peak hour, then focus on those areas that you can afford. But then if you want to be in the area but it's a little bit out of budget, maybe just go one suburb out, which I call the next ripple, which may not have had such growth, so you can sort of stay ahead of the wave, like a surfboarder, for example, and then you can ride that wave in. And then obviously when you're buying something, if it needs a bit of TLC, then get the painters in and do some cosmetic works and go from there and beautify it to your own personal taste.
Great advice.
So in terms of your business, what does it look like 12 months from now, 2 years, 3 years? What's the growth plan?
Well, mate, good question. We just had our 10th birthday for Absolute Estate Agents. So we're in year 11 now, which I think is pretty good. Moving forward, more staff, and we just relaunched the rental side of things, and project marketing is getting busier now as well with new developments coming on, coupled with the buyer's agency, local specialist. So we are looking at going nationwide with that. So we're just talking to a few local agents in and around Sydney, Melbourne and Perth that'll be able to fly our flag high in those particular states, and obviously they'll be running that themselves under our banner, which is exciting. So helping buyers find exactly what they want.
So let's just touch on that, because I don't think as many people are as familiar with the buyer's agent. Just explain that for our listeners.
So there's selling agents and buyer's agents. So a selling agent would sell your property. A buyer's agent would represent you when you're buying a property, so you would pay the buyer's agent. So buyer's agent's job effectively is to make sure that they find you the right property that fits your requirements, and then we try and negotiate the heck out of the price and, see what the problems are and and fix those problems. And sometimes it might be a case of reducing the price even more so you can get it for a better deal. But the most important thing at the moment with low stock levels is actually finding a property. People are struggling to even find something because as soon as they see it, it's under contract. So we have a fairly large network in terms of off-market properties which are not readily available. So it's really a case of who you know, and we know a lot of people after being in the industry for 23 years, Australia-wide, and hence the whole nationwide rollout, which is very exciting.
Yeah. So essentially, the standard way people go to buy real estate, they obviously look in the paper or online or whatever. They go along to an open home and they potentially put an offer in along with 50 other people.
Yep.
But then as somebody who wants to buy a property, so if I want to buy a property, I can go directly to you and say, this is exactly what I want. These are the areas I'm looking at. This is my budget. You go and find me a property that suits me. And the only difference is that I pay the commission rather than that seller.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct. So it's a case of not only putting an offer forward, but are you match fit? So what I mean by that is, how would you present the offer? Is there a finance clause? Are you pre-approved? If there is, how long is the finance clause? So is there a building in pest? We always recommend you do that, obviously. Is it subject to the sale of another property, subject to the sale of your cat, whatever the situation may be?
Yep.
Everyone's different. So it's very much a case by case. So we like to take the moving parts out of it and present a nice, clean offer. But it's how you do things. It's a bit like how you say things instead of what you say. So, yeah.
What have you seen? So you mentioned you've been in the industry for 23 years. What do you think's been the greatest change that you've seen in the industry in that time?
Technology's massive. It's a lot of our stuff is AI based, new websites.
23 years ago, you had the Courier Mail.
Mate, 23 years ago, I was working for an agency and we had the front 2 pages because realestate.com was free, and if you wanted a little box around your ad, it was $50. Now, Mr. Murdoch's charging $3,500 for some areas, and that's just the digital ad online. So, considering realestate.com is News Corp's one of the most profitable ventures, which obviously Lockie Murdoch's now taken over, there's a lot of money in it. And look, they're the biggest player. They're the most searched platform in Queensland. Our domain is the most searched in New South Wales. If you're not on realestate.com, as much as I hate to say it, you don't exist. And if you don't have a big ad, well, if you're on page 50 on realestate.com, it's a bit like being on Google on page 50. You don't exist. No one's going to page 50. So less than 7% of people go low to high search. I'm one of those 7% that would, because why would I pay an extra $300,000 for a house, which you compare to something else, but not everyone thinks like that. And that's the thing, because when you be doing something for so long, you know the ins and outs fairly easy. It's like putting on a pair of pants. But if you're a novice and you're not sure how to do it, you're going to struggle a little bit, and then you might end up overpaying, which could be the difference between the new ute, the family holiday at the end of the year, or nice big Chrissy presents for the kids at Christmas. So,
and on the note of the Christmas presents and such, what does success look like for you?
Mate, I guess a big smile on your face every morning you wake up. Waking up's a good one. Some people don't get the pleasure of doing that. Success to me is that, mate, making sure kids are healthy. Health is wealth. So that's the big thing for me. Moving forward, I think after having different businesses, you need to keep moving forward. There'll always be another deal, mate. That's not a make or break. Happiness, mate, moving forward. Nice.
I could not agree more with the health equals wealth. I think a lot of people can get to our vintage. You spend your entire life chasing that wealth at a consequence to your health, and it doesn't matter how much money you got, but if you're laying on a hospital bed, it's not much use to you, is it?
No good at all.
Before we jump into the quickfire questions, for anyone out there contemplating starting their own business, wanting to become a founder, we touched on this earlier, what's the best advice that you could give them?
Don't think about it, do it. If you say you're not ready, you know what? I've got 3 kids, I'm still not ready. So just do it, dive in. Obviously check the water before you dive in. And I don't mean that in a real sense of diving off a platform, but mate, just do it. There's very, very easy to set something up. Business names, $29. Domain names, $12. You get your ABN. If you're ABN registered, if you're not sure, you can delay that. Website, Wix, you can do that. If it's got the AI background, you don't need to be a web designer. set a niche, pick your audience, learn about Google AdWords. You can outsource it on Airtasker, get your logo happening, try and not have a massive holding up front. Certainly don't start buying restaurants and doing $1 million fit outs. Like that's absurd. But mate, you can set up a window washing business with $75. Buy a Torre squeegee, an old beach towel in a bucket, and mate, start door knocking and get a little, what do you call those, little pay passy things. So I'd be doing that. If I had $100 and wanted to start a business, you can make $1,000 a day. That's $7,000 a week if you want to work every single day.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of ways to do that, but you just got to get off your butt and do it.
Yeah.
So people are lazy, mate. Well, not everyone. Some people are lazy.
Yeah.
But I guess it's if you don't know where to start, it's going to be a challenge to start. Yeah. So.
And you're right. You're never ready, are you?
No.
So just do
it's
it.
It's like doing a podcast. I'm still not ready, but we're halfway through. Yeah, for sure, mate.
All right, quick fires. You ready?
Go for it.
Auction or private sale, which do you prefer?
I am an auctioneer, but I would prefer private sale.
And if you had a billboard on the M1, what would it say?
As seen on TV. I would say local knowledge, global reach.
What suburb in Brisbane is surprisingly undervalued right now?
I would say Spring Hill.
I would agree with that. Most expensive property you sold?
$6.6 million, which was 38 Ivenden Street, Banyo, commercial site. We sold for Franco Santa Lucia back in 2006.
You never forget that, do you? You never forget your first one, and you never forget your most expensive property you sold. What's the worst advice you've ever received?
Don't buy in Tenerife. Really?
One marketing tactic you still swear by?
Marketing tactic I swear by, asking the question and just meeting new people. Doesn't matter where it is.
What gives you inspiration?
Having a chat. Inspiration, knowing that tomorrow's another day and I've got to pull my finger out to make it happen.
Outside of property, what are you really good at?
Sailing.
A movie you've watched more than 3 times?
So many. Beverly Hills Cop, Lethal Weapon, Wolf of Wall Street, Dancing with Wolves, heaps.
If you had to pick one daily habit that separates you from 90% of the other agents, what is it?
Fruit tea in the afternoons. Soothing.
I can't say I've heard that one before. Favourite song that you just must sing along to?
7 Days in Sunny June by Jamiroquai.
What personal sacrifice has your real estate demanded?
Time.
Finish this sentence, I believe.
In getting shit done.
Outside of real estate, what are you currently learning?
A lot of audio podcasts. So Marcus Aurelius, sort of Stoic Living, all that sort of thing. Massive podcast fan. Put the ocean sounds on the Alexa, coupled with a book, and I feel like I'm actually at the beach or somewhere exotic. So it's good.
And one thing about yourself that would surprise people if they knew?
I'm pretty much an open book, mate. I guess I know every postcode in Australia almost. And I used to know how to do the splits until my sort of knee got busted. But yeah.
Well, there you go. I'm sure not everybody in your office knew that. Last question. What's the most valuable tip that you can leave with our audience?
Decide on what you want to do and work out a plan and then execute it step by step. Same as how to eat an elephant. Not that I encourage eating elephants at any time. No animals were harmed during this podcast, but just execute the plan and just go bit by bit. One foot in front of the other.
What a great way to finish. Thanks so much
Thanks
for your time,
guys.
Mario.
Thanks, Magnus. Appreciate it, mate.
Cheers.
Thanks, Benny.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.